It's precisely 1:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Danushka Madhavela, read by Sabrina Zavahir. The headlines. Sithabha-Kodesi train will be operated on Saturdays from today onwards. The Parliament is scheduled to convene from next Tuesday. All Island Farmers Association says that adequate stocks of rice and paddy are in storage in the country. The police say that stern actions will be taken against the individuals who misuse the 119 police emergency hotline. The annual festival of the St. Anne's Shrine in Thalavila will be held tomorrow. In world news, NASA fully back in contact with lost space probe Voyager 2. In sports, Alex Hales announces international retirement. Now the local news in detail. Sithabha-Kodesi train will be operated on Saturdays from today onwards. Earlier, the Sithabha-Kodesi train was operated on Sundays only. This train was commenced under a concept of Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena. Chairman of the Western Province Tourism Development Authority, Sugatheva Patirana, said that the authority made this decision due to the high foreign tourist arrival to the Sithabhaka area. Meanwhile, Yal Nilodesi train, which operates from Mount Lavinia to KKS, commenced its first journey last night. The train reached KKS 5 a.m. this morning. This train will return 9:30 p.m. from KKS and reach Colombo at 5:20 a.m. on Monday. The price of a first, second and third class ticket is 4,000, 3,000 and 2,000 rupees respectively. Tickets can be reserved online. The Parliament is scheduled to convene from next Tuesday to the 11th as decided by the Committee on Parliamentary Business at its meeting held on the 21st of July 2023. Adjournment debate on the mid-year fiscal position report will be taken to discussion on that day. Second reading of the Betting and Gaming Levy Amendment Bill to be taken up on the 9th and the adjournment debate on the socio-economic issues faced by plantation community at present on the 10th. All Island Farmers Association says that adequate stocks of rice and paddy are in storage in the country. National organizer of the association, Namal Karunaratne, says that no rice shortage will occur in the near future. Chairman of the United Rice Producers Association, Mudita Pereira, says that there is no signs of a rice shortage of rice due to a drought or other reasons. He said that if there are any such situations, the responsibility of the government is to manage it. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news, the police say that stern actions will be taken against individuals who misuse the 119 police emergency hotline. This hotline number was introduced to safeguard the national security and the peaceful living of the people of this country and to inform the police soon in any incident. The call center receives around 3,500 calls daily. But some people make nuisance calls to this hotline. Some of them are with false information. The police say that stern actions will be taken against them. The annual festival of the St. Anne's Shrine in Thalavila will be held tomorrow. The festival liturgy will be celebrated at 7 a.m. Chilau Bishop Reverend Dr. Valence Mendes will preside over the festival mass. Holy Rosary and special Eucharist service will be held this evening at Thalavila St. Anne's Shrine. Thalavila St. Anne's Shrine Festival Mass will come to an end after a special blessing tomorrow. Reverend Father Lil Fernando, parish priest of the St. Anne's Shrine in Thalavila, said that the necessary facilities have been provided for the devotees attending the festival. Health Minister Kelly Rambukwala says there is no truth in the news that operation theatres in some government hospitals have been closed. Surgeries in the government hospitals are functioning as usual. At a press briefing held in Colombo yesterday, the minister said some elements are attempting to disrupt the free health service in the country by spreading false and fabricated news in order to instill fear among the public. Even though there is a shortage of some items, there are sufficient amounts of medicines and equipment in the government hospitals to maintain health service as usual. Therefore, people should not have fear to go to the state hospitals for treatment. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Secretary to the President, Samane Kanayaka, has formally communicated with all party leaders requesting their suggestions and comments on the implementation of the 13th Amendment of the Constitution. This notice was sent to all political parties and groups represented in the Parliament with a submission deadline of 15th August 2023. The communication follows the directives of President Ranil Wickremesinghe as part of the commitment made during the all-party conference convened on 26 July 2023. This proactive approach aims to foster national reconciliation, facilitate constructive dialogue on the 13th Amendment's implementation. That was main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
The Airport and Aviation Services in Sri Lanka Private Limited reminded the public that no one is allowed to fly kites within 5 kilometers from any airport in the country. Sending kites or similar objects into airspace exceeding 800 feet within an area of 5 kilometers from an international airport is strictly prohibited as it interferes with the operations of the aircraft and poses a serious risk to life and property. The Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka Private Limited emphasized that if this fact is disregarded, the offenders can be severely punished under the existing legal framework. That came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Moving on to world news. Taking a look at the headlines of the world news. Russia says tanker hit in Ukraine attack near Crimea. Extreme heat hits Iraq as temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius. NASA fully back in contact with lost space probe Voyager 2. Now the world news in detail. A Russian tanker with 11 crew members has been hit in a Ukrainian attack in the Black Sea, Russian maritime officials have said. They said the vessel's engine room was damaged in the overnight strike in the Kerch Strait. No one was hurt. Russia's maritime transport agency later named the vessel as a SIG tanker. It gave its location as 17 miles south of the Crimean Bridge. It said the attack was likely carried out by a naval drone. Several Russian military bloggers earlier also said that a Ukrainian drone was involved and that residents of nearby coastal villages heard a large explosion. Ukraine has so far not publicly commented. Extreme temperatures and a lack of electrical power are a deadly combination and one that is being felt across Iraq. The country is one of the world's most vulnerable to climate change, faced with scorching heat waves, reduced rainfall, water scarcity and desertification. At the emergency department of the Al-Ramadi Teaching Hospital in Iraq's Anbar province, Dr. Ziad Tariq says he receives at least 10 to 15 patients daily suffering from heat stroke and dehydration during the summer. NASA is back in full contact with its lost Voyager 2 probe months earlier than expected, the space agency said. In a July, wrong command was made to the spacecraft sent to explore space in 1977, changing its position and severing contact. A signal was picked up on Tuesday, but thanks to an interstellar, a powerful instruction, its antenna is now back facing Earth. NASA had originally pinned hopes on the spacecraft resetting itself in October. It took 37 hours for mission controllers to figure out if the interstellar command had worked, as Voyager 2 is billions of miles away from Earth. Staff used the highest power transmitter to send a message to the spacecraft and timed it to be sent during the best conditions, so the antenna lined up with the command, Voyager project manager Susan Dodd told AFP. After communications were lost, the probe had been unable to receive commands or send back data to NASA's Deep Space Network, an array of giant radio antennas across the world. But the space agency confirmed on 4th August that data had been received from the spacecraft and it was operating normally. NASA expects the spacecraft, laden with science instruments, to remain on its planned trajectory through the universe. That ends World News. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the World News once again. Russia says tanker hit in Ukrainian attack near Crimea. Extreme heat hits Iraq as temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius. NASA fully back in contact with lost space probe Voyager 2. That ends World News.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Desha Sri Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
The government stressed yesterday its intentions to revive the country's stalled construction industry by resuming the large infrastructure projects that were halted due to the economic crisis. This crisis resulted in a significant price increase due to high input prices and import restrictions. Sagala Ratnayaka, the President's senior advisor on national security and chief of presidential staff, said that the President Ranil Wickremesinghe aims to revive the construction industry in Sri Lanka and contribute widely to the national economy. Ratnayaka made this statement during the meeting of the Executive Committee on the Revival of the Construction Industry held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. That was Development News.
Vacancies for women from Desha Sri Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Taking a look at the sports news, Alex Hales has announced his retirement from international cricket with immediate effect at the age of 34. He signs off from his England career as the T20 World Cup winner, having played his last game in their 5-wicket win over Pakistan at the MCG in November last year. Hales has been in semi-regular discussion with England's management over the last 9 months, weighing up the balance between bilateral commitments and his franchise contracts. More in sports news, Bayern Munich have told Tottenham they want a decision by the end of Friday over whether they are prepared to sell England captain Harry Kane. The German champions have reportedly made at least one offer for Kane, who Bild says has already agreed terms. The deadline is a signal that Bayern are growing frustrated with the current situation, although it is not clear if they would then walk away from any deal if it was not met. That was sports news. Moving on to business news. Amazon's e-commerce business perked up in the 3 months to June after months of lackluster spending amidst a wider sluggish economy. The uptick follows a push by boss Andy Jassy to make the online shopping giant's delivery network run faster and more smoothly, the firm said, helped to drive overall sales up 11% year-on-year to a better than expected $134.4 billion. Amazon's July Prime Day was its biggest ever, with 375 million items purchased. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, Minister of State for Finance Ranjit Simbalapitiya says that import restrictions of 300 more items are ready to be lifted and the items will be named by the first week of September. The minister noted that with the recent economic crisis, import restrictions were imposed on certain goods. Accordingly, on August 23rd last year, the government decided to restrict the import of 1,465 items and ease the restrictions 3 times on a portion of those items. In the past 3 months, the government has taken steps to remove the restrictions on more than 1,000 goods that had been subject to import restrictions. That was economic news. Finally, we take a look at the weather report. The Met Department says that several spells of light showers will occur in western and Sabragamo provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in Uva and eastern provinces during the evening or night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. Sitawaka Odesi train will be operated on Saturdays from today onwards. The Parliament is scheduled to convene from next Tuesday. All Island Farmers Association says that adequate stocks of rice and paddy are in the storages in the country. The police say that stern actions will be taken against the individuals who misuse the 119 police emergency hotline. The annual festival of the St. Anne's Shrine in Thalavila will be held tomorrow.